Alright guys, so today we're going to do a video that we've gotten so many requests from. We've gotten tons of emails, messages, DMs, it's insane. So we finally decided to buy two brand new 2022 Kawasaki ZX-XRs and do this video for you. So the question that we get asked all the time is, what's the difference between an Impaktech crash cage and an Impaktech ratio? So I'm going to kind of break it down for you. This video is going to be very informative, so before you do a purchase, I highly recommend you actually rewatch this a couple times and really hear me out. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the bike that we have here, this colorway is going to have our candy red Impaktech crash cage, and this ZX-XR is going to have our Impaktech race rail on it. So the first thing that we have to go over is, what is a crash cage, right? So an Impaktech crash cage essentially is going to be a cage that protects your motorcycle, protects your frame, your motor, and your fairings. So this crash cage has a couple of different mounting points. On the ZX-XR, you have a main mounting point here, you have a mounting point in the rear that's held on by an all thread, and you have a mounting point at the bottom, which is the crossbar that connects both sides of the cage to ensure it's as rigid and strong as possible. All the crash cages are going to come with these CNC Darling pucks. The CNC Darling pucks are just going to go here, and in an event of an accident, if the bike falls and it makes contact with the ground, this is going to be the first thing that makes contact, and these are replaceable. So for instance, if you have a really nice candy red powder coated finish on your cage, it's not going to get damaged if you crash, because the puck is going to be the first thing that goes into contact. The actual cage itself never touches the floor. So now going to the race rail. Now the race rail is going to have two different contact points. It's going to have the same contact point as the crash cage, one bolt here that goes into the motor mount, and then the second point of contact is going to be in the rear, just like the crash cage. It's going to have that all thread. But as you can see, there is no lower section and there is no crossbar that goes underneath the bike, which gives it that very sleek race look. Okay, and then again, just so you guys can see, from this angle, this is a full crash cage, and then this is going to be the race rail. So just think of the race rail as like half of a crash cage. Okay, so now why would you get a crash cage versus a race rail, or vice versa? If you're planning on stunning, if you're planning on dropping your bike every day, if you're planning on actually learning how to wheelie, I would go with the crash cage. The reason behind it is because the crash cage is going to offer the most protection. These crash cages are CNC'd, built, fully automated here in our state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Riverside, California, 100% made in the USA, and it's going to offer the most protection out of any product on the market. You can drop this bike 10 times a day, 15 times a day, 20 times a day, and none of the welds are going to crack. The bike is never going to see the ground, and it's going to be fully protected. Now with the crash cage, it's backed up by our lifetime warranty, okay? So if you for some reason do end up cracking one of the welds, bend a tube, whatever that may be, we will cover it 100%. That's how confident we are in our product. We've sold hundreds of thousands of cages in the last 14 years, and we have got maybe 4 or 5 of them back that have ever cracked. So our product, we stand behind it, okay? So that's one of the main reasons why you would get an Impaktech crash cage. Now, most people aren't going to be stunning. Most people aren't trying to do wheelies. Most people are just really, hey, I want to protect my bike in case for some reason I forget to put my kickstand up and I drop the bike. Or I'm at a red light and a car rear ends me a little bit and I drop it, right? That's where the race rail will come into play. The race rail is still going to offer an insane amount of protection in case your bike does fall. And we'll just go ahead and include a video in here real quick showing us dropping this brand new 2020 ZX-XR on the ground, so you can see how much protection this race rail actually gives you. Now the race rail does offer a more sleeker look as well. For instance, let's say you have a brand new R1 or a brand new Gixxer 1000, you know, like 1000cc motorcycles, you're most likely not going to be using those motorcycles to stunt. You're going to be using them more to, you know, go fast or whatever you may be doing with them. So this gives it a lot more of a sleeker look, and it doesn't interfere with any sort of clearance as you're sitting on the bike. So as you can see, once I'm on the bike, my feet doesn't touch the race rail. I have a lot of space. Very, very nice and very, very comfortable. So yeah, a lot of the customers that do end up buying the race rail, it's either because they're not going to stunt, they're not going to be consistently dropping the bike, And sometimes they just have a 1000cc bike that they want to get an insane amount of protection for, but don't want the full crash cage. It's also a really good option because it's kind of like our entry level option. So it's going to be a little bit less expensive than, let's say, a full crash cage would be. Okay, so quick rule of thumb, crash cage can offer you the most protection possible. You're going to be able to drop it consistently, take it through a ton of abuse, and it's going to protect your bike. Race row, it's going to give you an insane amount of protection as well. You're going to be able to drop your bike, but it's going to be something where you're not consistently dropping it on purpose. You're not learning to sit on it. That's what the race row is going to be more for. So another big misconception about, hey, why should I get a crash cage? If I go to the canyons, if I'm leaning really aggressively, is the cage going to scrape? No, you'll be completely fine. We designed all of our cages to make sure that no lean angle is compromised. So you can literally be dragging a knee, you can be dragging an elbow, and you'll be sure that the cage is not going to hit the ground. We've actually tested a lot of our cages on the racetrack and made sure that it's not going to touch the ground and cause an accident because of that. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of give you a really good example of how much lean you can do on the bike before the crash cage actually makes contact with the ground. So you can see we're dropping it, we're dropping it, we're dropping it, we're dropping it. That finally makes contact. So once the bike is on the ground, you can see that no fairings touch the ground. All right, so now we're gonna kind of pick it up so you guys can kind of see again. Okay, so let's go back up. And you can see there's no damage on the bike, no fairings made contact, the brake lever is intact, everything is perfect. I sit down here, so you can see once we put that, I have so much space here, I can still shift comfortably, my shins are not in the way, my knee is not in the way, I can still grip this tank. The same thing applies to the other side. Can still apply this brake perfectly fine. So yeah, that's going to be the Impaktech crash cage. Okay, so kind of the same thing with the race row. As you can see, you can have so much lean on this before touching the ground. So if you want to come over on this side, we can just go ahead and record that. So we're dropping, we're dropping, we're dropping. It finally makes contact all the way at the bottom. And once the race row does make contact with the floor, none of the fairings are touching the floor. Okay, so now we're just gonna pick it up so you guys can see that there's no damage. Pick this up, put the kickstand back down, and yeah, there's no damage on any of the fairings. The bike is perfectly protected. So there's gonna be a couple of different drops, right? So let's say you're just going 10 miles an hour and you drop your bike. The puck is gonna take all of that impact and your puck is gonna look something like this, right? Now let's say you're on the freeway and you slide at 100 miles an hour, maybe your puck might end up looking like this, okay? Once you get into a crash or your pucks do get compromised, we highly, highly, highly recommend you get a brand new puck, right? Because this is gonna be the reason why your crash cage doesn't get damaged. If you have a puck that looks like this and you keep running it, at one point, there's not gonna be any more material to save it, and you're gonna start digging into your actual crash cage. You're gonna start shaving off your powder coating, you're gonna start bending that metal, you're gonna start shaving that metal off. So please always ensure you have a brand new puck after every accident. Again, if it's something like this, you can be okay if you like the look of that, but if you're down to this, please replace these pucks. Hopefully this video answered as many questions that you guys had. Now, here's my opinion. I think that you guys should always get the crash cage if you guys have the funds for the crash cage. The crash cage is going to offer the most protection, and I've seen some really nasty accidents. I've seen motorcycles flip on the freeway, run off a canyon, make contact with a car, and anytime you've had a crash cage on there, the frame, the motor of the bike is always going to be okay. Sometimes if the bike starts flipping and it lands on the tail or it lands on the front, obviously there are going to be some plastics that crack, but those are really, really worst case scenario crashes. Now, with the race row, this is an awesome option as well. If you're looking for something just to protect your bike, and again, you're not going to be consistently trying to pop wheelies or doing really big tricks or purposely dropping your bike, this is an amazing option. Again, I've seen some really nasty crashes, and with our race rails, your frame and your motor are always going to be protected. One of our employees has a 2005 Gixxer 1000, and he's been down 4 times, and his bike is perfectly okay. He's had to replace a couple of rear section fairings and front section fairings, but the integrity of the bike has always been okay. So it really comes down to, are you going to be abusing your bike? Crash cage. Or if you're not going to be abusing your bike and you like the look of the race rail, go with the race rail. Either or, you should have either or of these options on your bike, because at the end of the day, if you don't have anything and all you have is a little frame slider, it's going to cost a lot of money to try to repair this bike. So please make sure to shop ImpaktechUSA.com. Everything's made here in the USA, and it's backed up by a lifetime warranty. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop anything in the comments down below. Shoot us an email, give us a call, or visit our shop here in Riverside, California. We'll make sure to put all the details down below.